5 minutes. In algebra, you have an equation, something like our handy Newton's second law equation, force equals mass times acceleration. You will notice that in equations, we have an equal sign. The equal sign in an equation means that both sides of the equation are equal to one another. That's what an equal sign in an equation means. Should be fairly clear so far. Everyone with me? Okay. Now, if you were to do something to one side of the equation, let's say you add something to it, you would break the equation because then the two sides would not be equal anymore. So we're not allowed to do that. However, if we think about this equation as like a scale, a set of balances where both of them are equal to each other, if you were to add something to one side and you add the same thing to the other side, they would still be equal. So you're allowed to add things to equations so long as you do it to both sides. If you were to double what's in both these, so long as you do it to both, it's still equal, that's fine. If you were to have what's in them, so long as you do it to both, that's fine. So you can multiply, you can divide, you can add, you can subtract, that's all totally fine. You can do whatever you want to this equation, so long as you do it to both sides. All that algebra is messing around with this equation to let you reorganize it in a way that you want. So why might I want to mess with this equation? Let's say I have force equals mass times acceleration. I know this formula, but I'm not trying to solve for force. By the way, when we say solve for in math, what we mean is get one thing by itself on one side of the equation. So we could be like, oh, what's the force equal to? It's equal to all of this. So solving for something in math means you get one thing by itself in the numerator, alone on one side of the equation. So let's say I don't want to solve for force. I want to solve for mass, so that I could have a situation where I knew the force and I knew the acceleration, and then I'd be able to calculate the mass from that. Well, what I need to do is I need to get mass by itself. That means I need to get rid of this acceleration. What's anything divided by itself? 1. So I could divide by acceleration. But anything I do to one side of this equation, I have to do to the other. So on the other side, I also have to divide by acceleration. Acceleration then cancels out, and I'm left with the equation force over mass equals acceleration.
Force over acceleration.
Oh, you're right. Force over acceleration equals mass. Great correcting. Let's say I wanted to solve for mass, or let's say I wanted to solve for acceleration. I could do something really similar. If I'm starting with this place of force equals mass times acceleration, and I'm trying to get acceleration by itself, well, then I can cancel out the mass, and as long as I do it to both sides, that goes away. Now I'm left with acceleration is force divided by mass. So that's what algebra is for. It's for rearranging equations so you can get whatever piece you're specifically looking for. All of algebra, like an entire year's worth of math is just how do you do this in ways to help you. Now, in physics, we have a lot of these three-part formulas. Things like velocity is distance over time, acceleration is change in velocity over time, or force equals mass times acceleration. You're gonna need to be able to rearrange them. Now I will say, algebra is not 7th grade math. So just because I can summarize it in 5 minutes, doesn't mean I necessarily expect you to be able to do algebra.
Are we doing this in math right now with the ratios, and you solve for x and y, and then you have to make the thing?
Yeah, you kind of are, aren't you?
Yeah, we are.
All right, this is just like a different way of accomplishing those same goals. So, if you don't want to do algebra, there is an alternative. I can teach you right now how to cheat at algebra using not like 8th, 9th grade math, but instead using 3rd grade math. And it goes back to these lovely little things which you might remember called our math fact families. And if you remember thinking back to elementary school,
Oh, I understand it now. I understand it.
where you have things you got some folks who are looking for?
Yeah, I understand it now.
Okay.
I don't want to get homework because it's probably in my class kit. And
What?
she goes, no, we're learning about math fact families. I'm like, what's that? And she goes, I learned it in kindergarten.
The only word I understand is what's that. I'm sorry.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. All right, so let's say you have a math fact, like 6 is 2 times 3. We can put that math fact into this little triangle. So the triangle, there's 2 compartments on the bottom, there's 1 compartment on top. And the idea behind this is the 2 bottom compartments are the things that are multiplied by each other, and then whatever that equals goes on top.
Oh.
So 6 is 2 times 3. If I want to know what 2 times 3 is, I just cover up this, like if I want to know what 6 is, oh, that's 2 times 3. Okay?
Okay.
But the cool thing about this is it lets us rearrange for other things. So if I want to know what 2 is, hey, 2 is 6 over 3. That bar right there, it's like a fraction bar. Hey, what's a fraction bar?
Divide by. Divided by.
Yeah, it's a division symbol. In fact, the division symbol, you will note, is a fraction bar, and the dots just represent like the numbers that could be there. Right? So, I could say, 2 is 6 over 3. 6 divided by 3. What's 3? 3 is 6 over 2. And so we can rearrange this formula. Now, when it's things like 6 equals 2 times 3, you might be like, that's not terribly useful. I know what 6 is. I can do that math. But if we apply that to Newton's second law, suddenly this becomes a very useful tool. So I set up my triangle, and we remember these 2 bottom compartments, those are things that are being multiplied by each other. Okay? So if we have an equation like force is mass times acceleration, hey, do I have 2 things that are being multiplied by each other?
Yes.
Yeah, so where are they going to go?
The bottom.
They're going to go on the bottom. So mass and acceleration go here. There's only 1 spot left for force to go, so that must go here. And then I can rearrange this formula. If I want to solve for mass, I just cover up mass, and I have force over acceleration. So mass is force over acceleration. If I want to solve for acceleration, I cover up acceleration. Acceleration is force over mass. How are we feeling so far about this?
What is a
I
capital
feel
M?
good. I understand now.
What is capital M?
Capital M can stand for things like molarity in chemistry, which is a measure of concentration.
So you would never do capital.
All right, let's think about a different form of equation, though, because sometimes the equations we have don't have 2 things that are being multiplied by each other. Sometimes the equations we have division problems in them. Like velocity is distance over time. So if we look at our triangle and we look at the formula velocity is distance over time, what's on top in this? Piano Mom?
Distance?
Distance is on top, so distance goes on top in my triangle. And that means, hey, what's on the left? Velocity's on the left. What's on the right? Time's on the right. So velocity and time fill in. So if I want to rearrange this to solve for distance, hey, what's distance?
Velocity times time.
Distance is velocity times time. Hey, what's time?
Distance divided by velocity.
Yeah, time, distance over velocity. So this will work for what we call 3-part equations. 3-part equations tend to be those like nice proportional relationships that we've been talking about that you've been talking about in math class. And you can take any 3-part equation and you can use it to solve. So here's what I expect from you. I expect you to be able to solve any of these equations. If I give you 2 of the 3 variables, you should be able to find the 3rd. It is your choice whether you want to use algebra to rearrange the equation or whether you want to use the math fact family triangles to rearrange